What's up, everybody? How we doing? Happy Thursday. The weekend is almost here. It's been a long week. Let's get to it. Vic Fangio officially signed with Miami, takes him out of our radar for defensive coordinator. We still don't have a defense coordinator. It's 4 days into the offseason. Let's get into it. We got to talk all about it. Let's drop the intro. What is up, everybody? How we feeling? Let's go. Let's go. Vic Fangio has signed with the Miami Dolphins today as the offensive coordinator. And yeah, man, it was huge news. It's huge news. It's huge news. Yeah, just got announced. What are we talking about? Brock Purdy is the 49ers as voted by the NFL on Fox fans. It was the fans. It's like a fan vote. Fan vote. It's not talking about official. It's a fan vote. NFL Rookie of the Year as voted by the fans. It's not official. The real awards come out Thursday, by the way. So let's get into this, by the way. So appreciate everybody. How's everybody doing? Let's get into this. So Vic Fangio today was officially hired by the Dolphins. A couple of days ago, it was reported, it was on Sunday, oh, he's going to be signed with the Dolphins. And then it wasn't official. And then there was rumors he might be coming to the Niners. He's coming to the Niners. He's coming to the Niners. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, well, there's rumors. It wasn't like he was coming to the Niners, but they were talking to him, right, that there's talks. And we've been kind of thinking about Vic Fangio for weeks and months and, through the year because we were like, D'Amico Ryans, right? He's going to be gone most likely. And he is. And his press conference, man, what a press conference. I mean, they welcomed him with wide open arms, arms wide open. It was a hell of a press conference. And you could just see, like, everybody was like, Miko, he's going to change the culture out there. And I'm proud for Miko. I'm happy for him, but I'm sad at the same time because you don't want to see a guy like that go. He was a great defensive coordinator. You could just tell how much he loved his players. Yeah, Fred Warner. He talked so good about Fred Warner today, how he just saw him being this player that was doubted. He says nobody thought he could be middle linebacker, and now to see him as the best middle linebacker in the NFL is crazy. Like, that's what D'Amico did. He brought the best out of him, and I think he's got a lot of young talent there. He's going to bring the best out of these guys. So shout out to D'Amico. But again, we sat here and we're like, who's going to be the guy? You had D'Amico Ryan's gone, so Vic Fangio, everybody thought, was going to be the guy. But yesterday, it was interesting when we talked about the Kyle Shanahan press conference. What did I say? I said, I don't think that Vic's going to come now after what Kyle said yesterday. He goes, he wants to keep the scheme pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? He wants to keep the scheme pretty similar. He doesn't want to change the script. He doesn't want to change too many things. So that's what he did. He says, I'm going to keep the script the same. I'm going to keep the defense the same. And we're going to try to find a guy that has a similar defensive style that we had. He doesn't want to change anything because he has a lot of good players. You don't want to kind of adapt and change. Although I think that even if they did get Vic, I think they would have been able to adapt because they have really, really, really talented players. You got Warner and Bosa. But it does make a change. You do have to adapt. That adaptation takes a little longer. So, so Vic Fangio goes to the Dolphins, and that's kind of what we found out today. That was kind of big news, right? Because you swipe them off the list of candidates, right? So now we have 3 primary candidates that we know of. So obviously we got to take a look at these guys. So the first one is Steve Wilks. He's a former coach for the Arizona Cardinals. He was their head coach. He was a defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. He was the passing game coordinator and the secondary coach for the Panthers. And he was actually the interim head coach this year. I think he did a very good job with the Panthers. They kind of fell apart, and he kind of fixed them up a little bit. Yeah, he kind of had them floating and maybe doing better than they should have been, right? So Steve Wilks, I like the guy. He's a defensive-minded coach, a very defensive-minded coach. And, again, he's been around the league. He's been a defensive back coach for many, many teams. He was the San Diego Chargers defensive back coach back when they were San Diego. He was the Carolina Panthers defensive backs coach. He was the Chicago Bears defensive backs coach. He was the Washington secondary coach. In college, he was the Notre Dame defensive backs coach, Bowling Green defensive backs coach, East Tennessee defensive coordinator, Appalachian State defensive backs coach, and on it, as you can see, he's good with defensive backs, right? So I think he'd be able to be really solid in bringing, a strong secondary to this team. So definitely a possibility. That's Steve Wilks. I like the guy. And the thing with the Niners, they like to get they like minority coaches because if they develop them and then they become a head coach somewhere, and they get compensatory picks. They have 8 compensatory picks, which is crazy in 5 years. I know that's not the only thing they want these coaches for. They're good, but they really embrace the cultural adversity of or the cultural landscape of these coaches, and that's what they do. They get these minority coaches, and they do a really good job, and then they go out and become a head coach, and then they get something out of them because they know the Niners know they have good coaches. They know the teams want their coaches. Look, every single year, Robert Salah, Mike McDaniel, D'Amico, everybody wants their coaches. So if they're going to lose coaches, it's kind of like you might as well get something out of it, is I feel like what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch say. So it's kind of the vibes I feel. But again, Steve Wilks, he's a good candidate. He's a guy that's kind of in the mold right now, in the mix. And then there's this guy, Chris Harris. He was a defensive backs coach. Let's get to that one. Let me pull up the information on him. Chris Harris, he's a guy that has interviewed, according to Albert Breer, he says that he interviewed Tuesday, and they're kind of mulling over their decision. They got to make it. This is a big decision. You can't just hire anybody, right? So a report says Tuesday that the 49ers request to interview Commanders defensive backs coach Chris Harris. As it turns out, according to Albert Breer of SI.com, Harris completed his interview for the 49ers defensive coordinator job Tuesday. And it says that Harris is expected to join the Titans as their cornerbacks coach and defensive pass game coordinator if the 49ers don't hire him, right? Breer is according to Breer. So the Bears are also reportedly having some interest in this guy. So Chris Harris, right, he's been with the Commanders since 2020. He previously coached for the Jaguars and the Bears. He spent 7 years in the NFL as a player with the Bears, Panthers, Lions, and Jaguars. So he has some experience. He's a defensive back guy, right? So he's another guy that will help the secondary. And that's one of the areas I feel like the Niners have had some question marks over the years, right? Question marks has been in the secondary. D'Amico was the linebackers coach. Different type of vibe, different kind of vision for the defense. And then the last person that's a candidate for the 49ers defensive coordinator is within the team, and that's Chris Kasurik. I love Chris Kasurik. We've seen him. He's ferocious. He gets crazy. Right? He's just a rabid animal, and he's yelling and screaming and and he gets this defensive line fired up, and he's a great positional coach. According to Josina Anderson this morning, she says that there is some internal talks to maybe promote him. They're looking at all options. Again, Chris Kasurik would have to want to take that role from defensive line position coach to the defensive coordinator. I love Chris Kasurik. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he'd be a phenomenal option for us. I think he's a great one. Again, and hiring from within, I think the players would see that and they like that. They love this guy's vibe, right? And that's another way to keep the chemistry up. But then you'd have to replace the defensive line coach then. So then you got another position to switch. So that's the drawback of hire. So if you hire from within, then you got to find someone to replace that guy. But it is nice to see people get hired from within because, again, D'Amico was a guy that was on this team, linebackers coach. He waited for that opportunity. Boom, he took his role, and he got the DC, and he knew he was waiting to get a head coach job eventually, and he spurned it to get to that point, right? He springboarded to get to that point. So he made the natural progression. But, again, Chris Kasurik, maybe he's content at being a line coach. But the one bad thing I see of getting Chris Kasurik in as DC, if he does a great job, right, which he probably would because he's a great coach, then we're going to lose Chris Kasurik in a year or two. You know what I mean? It's just how it goes. It's unfortunate. Everybody wants our coaches. And here we are. We're trying to figure out who is going to be our defensive coordinator. And those are our 3 main options. I'm sure there's some other ones, but those are the ones that are primarily been spoke about in the media, right? So you have um, Steve Wilks, Chris Harris, and Chris Kaser. Who do you guys want? Who do you guys want to get? Justin Smith as the D-line coach, 49ers fan on 3. That would be pretty cool. If he wants to go into coaching, go give him a buzz. Go get Justin Smith. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. That'd be cool. Nia says, I don't want the league to know about Chris K. I really don't either, because he's kind of like a nice secret that we have, and he's a big part of this team's success. Look at all the defensive players that come in here, defensive linemen that go through us and have career years, right? Arden Key, we got him a bag. Kerry Hyder, we got him a bag. Charles Menahu, he's about to get paid. And Samson Ebicam, he really fixed those guys. You know, he really makes these guys better than they probably would be on another team. Jordan Willis, very good depth players, and it's all because of Chris Kasurg really developing these guys. So Nathan says, I want Kasurg, but I don't want him to get hired by another team. I agree. Romero says Steve Wilks is better than Harris. I think Steve Wilks is probably the best guy suited. I think, again, he has head coaching. He has head coaching, tenure. He has the experience. He's been a coach for many, many, many years. You know, like we said, we just read out some of those positions he's had. He's been a defensive back coach for many, many years. Chris Harris is still early on as a coach, right? He's been, in the league. He hasn't been coaching as many years as Wilks, but I think he's still a strong candidate. I think he's very underrated. He's a young guy, but that's another thing. Maybe you need a young guy to kind of balance out Kyle. Kyle is this, he's kind of rough around the edges. You need a young, peppy guy maybe to kind of balance out, because Kyle is tough. We know how tough he is. He's gonna put that. It's like Jimmy Ward said the other night. Kyle Shanahan got that dog out of me. He built the dog inside Jimmy Ward. That's what Jimmy said, because he's tough. We all know Brandon Ayuk. He was in the doghouse. Now he became a dog, right? He wants dogs. He's tough. So maybe you get a guy that's going to balance out Kyle, right? So we'll see. And then again, money's an issue. That's probably one of the reasons you didn't get Vic Fangio. Obviously, the scheme. He runs the 3-4 scheme. But I think money is a big issue, right? Because Vic Fangio went out there and he got the highest paid defensive coordinator position, somewhere around probably like $4 or $5 million a year. That's a lot for a defensive coordinator. That's a lot in general. I don't think Kyle wants to pay these guys $4 million to be a defensive coordinator. I really don't. You're going to have to take a job. It's going to be well respected. You're going to get your position. I don't think they're going to try to make anybody the highest paid coach, out in the league. So I think money's a factor. So we'll see who he's going to take. Chris Kasurg going from D-line coach up to DC. I mean, he'll get an upgrade. He'll get a pay raise. He would get, a little bit. I mean, obviously it's a bigger responsibility, but he doesn't have to pay him the highest paid, because this is the first time he would be a DC. Same thing with a guy like Chris Harris. This would be his first time, so you're not going to expect him to be highest paid guy. Steve Wilks, maybe need to be paid a little bit more than those other two, because he has been in a high position before, head coach and all that. So he would probably be a little bit more expensive than the other two guys. So we'll see. I think money definitely is a factor. I know Kyle doesn't write the check, but hey, that's something that Kyle's going to have to bring to the table with the front office. Jed and everybody in Prague and Lynch. That's going to be a talk at the table. You're not going to pay everybody. You got to, you got to do what's best for your franchise. And I don't think they're going to want to break the bank on a guy. They're going to bring in a guy that they feel is that they feel comfortable with, they vibe with, who can bring in a good personality. They always look for really good people. That's the thing. And I think all three of those guys are really good people. You look at the Niners, they're always high quality individuals, coaches, players. That's kind of the vibe you get from the 49ers coaching staff. So Hendricks says Chris doesn't want to be the DC. I kind of feel that's always the vibe I've gotten. That's the vibe I've gotten. I feel like he's just content being the DC or the D-line coach. I feel like he likes it, right? I don't know. Again, they're talking to him apparently to see if they want him to be promoted. If he wants it, I'm sure he can get the job easily. But if he doesn't want it, then it's like, okay, let's go find one of the other guys. I get that vibe too, that maybe he's happy being the D-line coach. Maybe he doesn't want the spotlight on him. I've said that a couple of weeks ago. Like, does Chris Kasurg want that job? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. S. Flood says, do you think they explore the idea of trading Debo? No way. They just paid him last offseason. He's, one of the big-time players on their team. He's a pillar. I don't think they try to trade Debo. I don't think they're going to trade any of the big-time players. I mean, obviously, anything is possible. It's the offseason. But there's no way I think they trade Debo. There's no way. I need some of what you smoking. Send it. Yeah, I don't know why they would try to trade Debo. I don't know. It's the off season. People are gonna say a lot of stuff. There's gonna be a lot of rumors. Like the other day, right? Everybody's talking about Aaron Rodgers because Tom Brady's gone. Aaron Rodgers, and I love today. Aaron Rodgers, he was golfing at the Pebble Beach event out there, and they asked him. They go, hey, Aaron Rodgers, you got any news to tell us? And he goes, I'm not going to San Fran. Like he broke he killed the rumor before the rumor even started, kind of vibe, right? So it's off season. Buckle up. Like I say, it's gonna be a lot of crazy rumors, and then people saying this. They should trade him. They should trade Kittle. They should trade Ayuk. They should trade Kyle Shanahan. I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of crazy rumors, So Susan says, I've heard someone talking about Wilkes, and he sounds like a very good fit. I think Wilkes would be a good fit. Again, he's been in the league for many years. He knows defense. He's been a head coach before. I think Wilkes would be a very, very solid hire because, again, he's a former head coach. So you bring in a guy with head coaching experience and you put him right next to Kyle. That's two really good, strong coaches together because Kyle doesn't want to worry about the defense, right? He's got a lot on his plate with the offense. He's the coordinator and the coach. He wants a guy that can be independent and get his defense fired up and coach the defense. Like, yo, this is your defense. I'm your coach. I'm the head coach. I am the leader. But at the same time, you worry about the defense. And I think Steve Wilkes can handle that because he's had the experience. And I think that is his advantage over Chris Harris and a guy like Chris Kosherk. No disrespect to them. I think they're very good coaches. But I think that Steve Wilkes, because he had the experience, he would be able to manage this defense a lot easier than those other two guys, right? Steve Wilkes, again, he's been a head coach in this league, and he has a lot of experience. So, again, he'd be able to come in day one. Here's my game plan. Let's get these defensive guys and let's mold them up, And again, he has the defensive background, background, the cornerback, safety, that kind of background. So I think he'd really bolster the secondary. We need to get a strong secondary. That's something that we may be having to be in influx, right? We got a lot of safeties on free agency. Jimmy Ward is a free agent. Tashawn Gibson's a free agent. And then some cornerbacks. Emmanuel Mosley's a free agent. Maybe he can convince somebody to come back, or maybe he can look in the draft and maybe his eyes can see some talent out there that we maybe haven't seen before. And maybe he can get the best out of Ambry Thomas, and then we got Diamador Lenore, who's kind of ascending. Maybe he can really get the most out of Diamador Lenore. So I like the fact of bringing in Wilkes. I think he could do wonders for this secondary. So we'll see. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I hope they make a decision soon. I just hope they make a decision soon. I hate having to keep it every day. Who's the DC? Who's the DC? I don't know. I'm sure they will. Sometimes you got to take some time. You got to have some patience. You want to make the right decision. You want to make the right decision. But at the same time, as a fan, you kind of like figure your shit out already, Kyle. You know what I mean? So, let's get some of these questions. But he's probably expensive. Yeah, Trevor, he's probably the most expensive of the three candidates that we've talked about. Wilkes is like older. Jordan Porter, let's see. Shoulder labrum. So why not Nate Sudfeld again? I would not be surprised if they go and get Nate Sudfeld for training camp. I would not be surprised. I could already see the notification popping up. 49ers have signed quarterback Nate Sudfeld to a 2-year deal. He'll be entering his training camp as quarterback. I can see it already. I can see that. Oh, man. Let's see. Arun says, name 3 veteran quarterbacks you'd like to see. Andy Dalton, Minshew, Matt Ryan. Not Matt Ryan. No, definitely not. Andy Dalton. Oh, God. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess. I like Minshew. I like Minshew Mania. Give me Minshew. God, man. These veteran quarterbacks out there are so bad. So bad. If I had to pick between those 3 right now, Minshew. I'm not going to name any other ones. We'll see how it goes. When's free agency, says Nia? It's in March. The new league year starts in beginning of March. I can't remember the exact date, but it is the beginning of March. So, hey, Bookie says, any news on Anthony Lynn? Thought he did really well with the running backs this season. He is interviewing. He interviewed for the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator position. So we're just waiting to see if he gets the job or not. So, yeah, Anthony Lynn right now is a potential candidate for the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. So Jose Flores is Derek Carr. Yeah, I seen that one thrown around. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna see a lot of Carr rumors. I've never been a big Derek Carr guy. I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's great. He's okay. I mean, for QB3, yes, but the question with that is, would Derek Carr want to be a backup? Would he want to be a QB3 or QB2? That's what you got to think about, because I think a lot of teams are going to want him as a starter, and then he's going to probably cost a decent amount. So I don't think Derek Carr's on the table. If you take Derek Carr, you're basically starting him. In my opinion, I think that's the route they go. If they take Derek Carr, they're probably starting him. You know what I mean? T Money says, I didn't know the Pro Bowl started already. It was the Pro Bowl games, so the Pro Bowl is this weekend, but they're doing like the Pro Bowl games, the dodgeball and stuff. I guess it's something to watch. S Flood says, do you believe Rodgers, or is it a smoke screen? It could be a smoke screen, but I believe him. I don't think he wants to come to the Niners. He knows that we don't have enough to get him. Probably won't be able to pay him that much. I think he's salty with the. I think he used to want to come to the Niners. I honestly think he's just so salty with it. He would never come here after all these years. I don't think he would. I honestly think the Raiders have a good chance of getting Aaron Rodgers. I really do. You know, I don't think he's going to go there. Like, I still think Aaron Rodgers stays with the Packers, but I think there's a chance that he could go to the Raiders. Devontae Adams wants him, right? Beast Mode said Carson Wentz. If we get Carson Wentz, I will be so upset. I will. Carson Wentz is the only quarterback that I've ever seen sprain both of his ankles. How do you sprain both your ankles on the same day? Please don't. Heineke says 49ers fan. You know, I've heard some people say that, throw that one. I wouldn't mind Heineke. I think he's a good, nice little backup veteran type guy. You could throw him in there. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Heineke. I guess Minshew, Heineke, those two guys aren't bad. You know, they're not going to be starters, but you know, Kyle's off it. You know, with these guys lately, we can't have a quarterback stay healthy to save our life. So you never know. If Heineke was in a position to play, could he win games? Could Kyle win games with them? I don't know. Could Heineke play in this system and win games? I don't know. Probably. And he says 5 storms coming. 5 storms coming. A lot to prove. Baker Mayfield. Oh my God. So many bad mid. Just a lot of like mediocre quarterbacks out there. It sucks, man. I want Brock Purdy to be healthy. I wish Trey Lance wasn't coming off a big injury. Like, both of these guys have issues. Brock Purdy's coming off a big injury. Is he going to be the same? I don't know. That's a major injury. And then you got Trey Lance. How's he going to be after this injury? You know? So, yeah. Swaggy says Colin Kaepernick. I mean, I think Colin Kaepernick, his time has passed. Maybe a couple years back, it would have been cool to bring him back, but he hasn't been in the league for 6 years, 7 years? I don't know about that one. I don't know. And I think Kyle, you know, he had Colin on his team when he took over, and he got rid of him. Like, I don't know if Kyle would. I don't think Kyle thinks he's, you know, appropriate for his system, his scheme, his offense. You know, he had the opportunity to get Kaepernick, but you know, when you are a new coach, you want to build your own players. You build in your own team. You get the guys that you think are going to work. He had his eyes and mind and goals and dreams and aspirations set on Kirk Cousins. He wanted Kirk Cousins so bad that they didn't even go get Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. They didn't trade. They wanted Kirk Cousins so bad. That's how bad they wanted Kirk. And then they went and got Solomon. We know the deal. They wanted Kirk so bad. So. Jacoby Brissett. Case Keenum. Look at these names. These quarterbacks are so ugly. The names. They're all better than me, though. Don't matter. Imagine if we took Mahomes. Ah, man. Can you imagine if we drafted Mahomes? That's the guy that put Andy Reid over the top. It's the guy that put Andy Reid over the top. Because I've seen a lot of criticism on Kyle Shanahan lately. I've seen a lot of criticism, and I get it. I've been critical of Kyle. I'm not going to sit here and tell you can't be critical. Sorry, that we're fans. We have every right to be mad and upset and critical and salty and whatever. But Kyle Shanahan's been to 3 NFC championships in 4 years as head coach for the 49ers. Before that, we had really murky times after Harbaugh left, right? Jim Tomsula and Chip Kelly. We know all that stuff. Before Jim Harbaugh, we had some really murky years. Now, there's a guy, Andy Reid. We know Andy Reid. He went to the NFC Championship game 4 times in a row. One of those years, he went to the Super Bowl with the Eagles. 4 years straight, he came up short. He lost. He finally left the Eagles after many years, and then he went to the Chiefs, and they were one and done. They could not get over the hump. He had Alex Smith. They just couldn't get over the hump. And you know what happened? He got Patrick Mahomes. And they've been to 5 AFC championships. This is their second Super Bowl. Third Super Bowl. Their third Super Bowl. They have a chance to win 2 Super Bowls in 5 years because of the quarterback. The 49ers, 3 NFC championships in 4 years. They lost the Super Bowl. And this year they lost that NFC championship because of the quarterback. It's the quarterback. They just have to get a quarterback, stay healthy. And I thought we had it. Brock Purdy was the guy. He was the man. That was the guy. And then he got hurt. And now I don't know how much. Can Brock Purdy be the same guy? I think he could be. Kyle said it. He says he believes that Brock can still be that same guy when he comes back, as long as everything heals, properly. So it's just frustrating, It's frustrating. Frustrating. What do you guys think? Montana or Brady? I think it pains me to say I think Montana was the GOAT for many, many, many years. I mean, Tom Brady chased him. He had to take everything out. All his big records and everything he chased was Montana. I think Montana definitely should be in the top 5 quarterback conversation. A lot of people don't think so. Dan Orlovsky he didn't even have Joe Montana in there. I think Brady passed him. I think definitely 7 Super Bowls. And you can't argue that. But Joe Montana, man, undefeated in Super Bowls, the man was a king. He was a king, and he played in a different era. It's hard to compare these players in different eras, because it was a way different era. And this year, nowadays, pass happy, who knows what Joe Montana would have done these days in this era. So I think Brady passed him, but I still think Montana's number 2. He's my GOAT, though. But, yeah, Tom Brady passed him. 2 different eras, though, says 49er bet, 100%. It's hard to compare. But, yeah, man, respect to Tom. Hell of a career. Retired, done with. Shout out to Tom. Had a good career, man. But everything he did was to chase Joe Montana. It was his idol. That was his guy. Everything he did was to pass Joe. So, Mark says, the fact that we're still talking about us needing a quarterback is said. That's why I hate the offseason. I knew it coming into this offseason. I was like, we're going to go back to quarterback talk. I said it. I remember saying it last week. I said, 49ers lose this stupid game. And Brock Purdy, if he doesn't play well or whatever, it's going to be a whole narrative of off-season drama quarterback. And then the worst part of what happened this weekend was that it was an injury. So now we really don't know what the hell is going to happen this offseason. I could tell you what's going to happen with the quarterback position. Salvador Lopez says, here it is. He asked the question. I'm going to ask you guys, Chris Harris or Steve Wilkes or Chris Kasserk? Who do you guys want as DC? We talked about it earlier. Who do you guys want? Drop it in the comments. Let's see. Clip Central says, what's my dream free agency acquisition? Jeez. I don't know. Who's the best defensive end? I got to look at the free agency market. Whoever the best defensive end, I need the best edge rusher on the market. Give me a 10-sack guy so I can throw on the other side of Nick Bosa. Let's see. Chris earned it. Burnt Reynolds says Rex Ryan. Take him out of the broadcast booth. You want Rex Ryan? You want Rexy? I think he'd cost a little bit too much. I don't know. Rex Ryan, you think he still has it? He's a good defensive guy. He's a great defensive guy. I don't think that he's even on the radar, though. Deron Payne, 11.5 sacks. Give me Deron Payne. Bring the pain. Bring him. A Boogie says, respect to Darius Slay. He's giving the 49ers their flowers, unlike these Philly fans. Yo, shout out to D Slay. He's the only respectful Eagles player I've seen. He was hyping up CMC. He hyped up a couple other players. I think Trent Williams, too. But, man, he gave CMC a lot of flowers. That's good to see because it was a crappy game. It was a crappy game. But, yeah, shout out to D Slay, man. He's a good player. I wish we had a guy. I wish we had Darius Slay on our team. He's great. Not gonna lie to you. Patrick Willis, defensive coordinator. Is that what you want? Mm-hmm. I think he should come in as a linebackers coach. I think that'd be cool to see like Patrick Willis on the team as a positional coach, or Navarro Bowman. Get one of those old players, put him on the team as a positional coach. If Richard Sherman ever wants to come out of the booth, put him in the coaching. Give him a coaching position. All right. Alpha says Slay locked up Jefferson. D Slay. He's good, man. He's good. S Flood says, I believe the trade package for Trey was really for Watson. I remember when all that was going down, we talked about that. And I remember Smitty and I saying that. We said, it's hard to imagine that it wasn't. Like that trade package, that was a lot. Like all the first round picks. To me, it was like, okay, we're going to go all in. We're going to get Watson. And then all the drama happened. It was like, okay, we got to figure something else out. What's plan B, right? And then, the Matt Stafford rumors were coming out, and Sean McVay struck fast. He went quick. He was like, yo, we got to strike while the iron is hot. We cannot let Kyle go get Stafford. And it was like, boom. And then Kyle's like, okay, what's plan C? Let's go get a young quarterback. And then they put all their chips in. I think you're right, Flood. 100%. 100%. My man, Ramelia, says Ramsey is a GOAT. He's a washed-up GOAT, but he's good. I wouldn't say – you know what? People throw that word around too loosely nowadays, GOAT, a greatest of all time. Jalen Ramsey's not a greatest of all time. He's a good of all time. He's a good player. He's a really good player, and I think he's a phenomenal cornerback. He's had a good stretch of football, but he's not a GOAT. Use that word a little bit too loosely, Ramelia. He's not a GOAT. He's good. He's good. Well, not a GOAT, though. Deion Sanders. Oh, that's a GOAT. Ramsey is Debo's son, says Nia. Yeah, that's why you can't be a GOAT, because if you're a son to Debo, you ain't a GOAT. Debo Samuel cooks this man left and right for dinner, for breakfast, for lunch. He cooks them. Jerry Rice is a GOAT. Aaron Donald is a GOAT. Okay, I'll give you that. Aaron Donald's a beast. I'll give you that. I'm gonna give you that one. He's good. See that? That's the little. Can't just throw the word out loosely. You got to think about all-time players, the best of all time, like positioned. I say Aaron Donald's in a GOAT category. He's one of the best defensive tackles I've ever seen. But Jalen Ramsey, no, not after getting pumped the way he did by Debo. But no, Aaron Donald, he's good. I hate. You know how sick it is for me to admit it, but he's a hell of a player. Hell of a player, for sure. Brandon Graham, free agent. You know what? That defensive line rotation in Philly is crazy, but I wouldn't mind going to get. Just give me every defensive give me edge rusher. I can't wait for draft season. Once I get fully ready to go into this draft season and look at scouts or look at look at some scouting film and all that stuff, I'm going to look heavily on edge rushers, cornerbacks, or maybe safeties, maybe more so safeties and offensive line, but especially edge rushers. It's my favorite time of the year. I can't wait to look at these edge rushers. Pro day, combine, all that good stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Arun says we need an upgrade over Ebicam. I agree, and that's why we need a premium edge rusher. And no disrespect to Ebicam. No disrespect to Charles Omenihu. They're good rotational players. Jordan Lewis, they're really good. I like them. They're fun players to have on this team. Good role players. You need role players, but they're not elite. You need an edge that can go and turn up the field, get you big-time pressure, take some pressure off of Nick Bosa. You need two lions off the edge. You got Nick Bosa, a lion. You got a lion off the edge, but you don't have a lion off the other side. You don't have a lion off the other side. You need another lion on the other side, and that's what I want. I want them to go and get us another premium edge. You know what I mean? It'd be fun. Yeah, Cleveland Farrell is, he's such a bust. But I will agree with you, Pockets, that Coach Kasurik, if anybody can turn a player around, it's Coach Kasurik. He did it with Arden Key. Remember Arden Key? He turned him around. But again, I don't want a guy that we have to turn around and redevelop. I don't want a good story. I don't want a good story. I want I want an elite player. Like you sign a guy, you know you're going to get production. Clelin Ferrell's a guy like, oh, maybe we could turn him around. Maybe we can get him as a depth piece. Cool, great. I need him to sign a guy that's going to be impact from day one. Not maybe he could be a cool, nice little comeback story. That's what I want. You know what I mean? But yeah, depth, 100%. Cheesecake. Depth. And I'm cool with that, having a depth. But I need them to get like a star player off the other side. Maybe I'm greedy. Fuck, I just need Bosa to have some help. Because Bosa, I feel bad for that. That guy you could just tell. He was tired, man. Playoffs, he was just like, oh, man. He was exhausted. Terrence says, I want a DE like Von Miller or D Ford without the injuries. That's it. That's all I asked for. Arden had a good year with the Jaguars. He did. D Ford. Can you imagine if we actually had D Ford at a healthy point of the fucking D Ford, man? That's what we needed, a healthy D Ford. That's literally the dream. Sickening to me. It's so sickening to me. Oh man, it's sickening. Oh my god. Who's got 7 viewers? Go help him out. I looked at his live. There's like 7 viewers, says Chris. Who are we talking about? D Ford? D Ford live? Let's go get him some views. Always. Oh my god. D Jackson. Nothing happened to him. He's young. He's developing. He was a rookie this year. He's got talent. But like Kyle said, Kyle basically said, listen, Drake Jackson, you're good. Get your stamina up. Get your endurance up. You got to build yourself to the last season in the NFL. Because he said, look, college game versus the NFL game. College game versus the NFL game. It's a big story. It's a big difference. You play 11, 12 games in college. You play at least 17 in the NFL. So I don't think he was ready for a full season. That's what Kyle said. He was gassed out. 100% 49ers. He was gassed out. I know what you guys talking. Don't hate on him, man. It's not easy to get viewers. Listen. But y'all know I've been doing this for a long time. We've been grinding. We grind out here. That's why I respect. You know what? I respect all the people that ever tune in, view the show, talk to me, engage. This is hard work. It's hard work. So appreciate y'all. Hit that like button though. Hey, Goated says Drake hasn't gotten his grown man strength yet. I agree. And it's not a slight to him. It's not a disrespect. I love Drake. I want him to. I was one of the biggest hype beasts out there when Drake was, because you know me. That was my favorite draft pick of the year. I loved the edge rusher. I'm already sitting here telling you, go get me an edge rusher. I was hyped. We had the lion. We got the lion I want. But he's still a baby Simba. It's like when Simba went and he hadn't become the Lion King yet, and he left, and he's with Timon and Pumbaa. That's where Drake Jackson's at. He needs to leave Timon and Pumbaa and become the Lion fucking King. That's what he needs to do. He's close. Solomon Thomas, free agent, stop it. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with Solomon Thomas. We ain't taking. If they bring back Solomon Thomas, I'm done. I'm so done. Can you imagine Solomon Thomas and Javon Kinlaw on the same D line? Quit playing with me. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. How many sacks they got together? Like 15 together? 14 of those are like Solomon Thomas's? That's crazy. That's crazy to me. No disrespect to anybody, but hey, I don't know. They got to fix that D-line, man. I tell you what, I wish they would have kept DJ Jones. That was the biggest loss of the year. I remember I sat here, I said, you cannot lose DJ Jones. Oh, man. Mr. D said the Joe Mixon script today was crazy. It's crazy. Can you imagine when he looked at the script and he's like, I got to pull a gun out on this girl? That's crazy. Thoughts on TDP? Let me see. He just doesn't seem like he fits Kyle's system. I don't know, man. They take these 3rd round running backs and they just Kyle's better at picking running backs late in the draft. Like he gets the most value out of their undrafted guys like Mason and those late round guys like Elijah Mitchell. Like I feel like that's where he gets his he gets the most out of these guys at those positions. I just don't like taking these running backs early because there's other positions that they could have filled. And I don't think TDP is horrible. I just don't see what Kyle saw. I just don't think he's an explosive runner. I don't know if he really fits the system that Kyle has. That's just me. It's tough. He feels like Trey Sermon to me. It really feels like a Trey Sermon. Yeah, Cheesecake says he shouldn't have picked it. I agree. I don't know. It was definitely a questionable. It was a questionable pick, but Kyle loves running backs. It was my early Niners MVP. That's too hard to predict right now. It's way too early. We don't even know what it's gonna be like. But if I have to give you an early MVP, whew, man, it's way too early. The season just ended. But I'll throw a name out there. I'm gonna say Nick Bosa because he's about to get a bag. He's about to get paid this offseason. So I'll give you Nick Bosa. That's the easy answer. That's the cheap answer. Nick Bosa is the easy answer. I'm gonna give you the answer, Nick Bosa. That's it. That one says, man, I wish Mitchell would stay healthy. I wish he could too. That's the one issue that Kyle has with his running backs because they run so physically, like hard in this. They just run so hard, and they get hurt. Like Raheem Mostert got hurt, Matt Breida got hurt. We got Elijah Mitchell getting hurt, so it's tough. Jeff Wilson would get hurt. That's what running back is a tough position to begin with. They get hurt a lot. They take the hits. They take the most hits in the league, but I wish they could stay healthy too. Ayuk gonna have 15 yards next year. Let's get it, Skyflow. I hope he does. I like Brandon Ayuk, man. He had a good breakout this year. It was fun to see everything he did. Man, he really stepped up. And it's crazy because last year, you remember we were talking about Brandon Ayuk, and it was like, he's not living up to expectation. He's in the doghouse, and he really stepped up, and it clicked with him. And this offseason, he was grinding, man. Brandon Ayuk was grinding, just grinding, putting that work in. He was putting that work in. Put that work in, man. And he said he got big, he got swole. His route running got even better. Like every year, it's gotten better. I love that, man. I love how hard he works. So I'm excited for the offseason because I do like to see how these guys train and all the work they put in. I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see what Christian McCaffrey's training is going to be like. I've seen a video of like the work he put in from last year to this year. Like you guys think Christian McCaffrey trains or George Kittle, because we've seen Kittle's training. Christian McCaffrey's training is crazy. I gotta find that video. I saw it like a couple days ago. Dude, that man trains like a fucking madman. I can't imagine how Nick Bosa trains. Like, holy God. But Christian McCaffrey, his training is insane. Insane, man. Love that guy. So it's fun when we get to the off season because there's different content. We get to see different, looks and stuff. We get to see what the players are up to and a kind of a glimpse of how they get ready for the season. So we'll see. Jalen Hurd, stop it. I heard, Jalen Hurd was my DoorDash driver the other day. No joke. Jalen Hurd, I DoorDashed some Wingstop to my house, and it was Jalen Hurd. And I said, hey, can you run some routes? He says, no, but I can get you your damn food. You gave me a $2 tip. So that's all I had, my boy. Nia says, I'm so excited to see a full year of CMC. I can't wait. A full year of CMC. Can you imagine? Oof, it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary. And you know what? If Trey Lance comes and plays this year, can you imagine Trey Lance and CMC? We didn't even get to see them. We didn't even get to see them together, So we'll see. Oh, man. What was this? It's hard for Ayuk to pop off with our 100 for 100. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Jalen or Jalen, Brandon Ayuk, he got 1,000 yards receiving this year, but we got so much talent. Like he's not even the number one option. If you got that damn name stuck, man. If Brandon Ayuk was on the roster on any other roster and he was like their number one receiver, this man would have at least 1,300 yards. At least I'll tell you what, man. If he was like on the Bills, imagine him. The route running he has, him and Josh Allen, oh my God. If he was on the Chargers with Justin Herbert. If he was on any team, the Chiefs, like this man would be a star, all-pro receiver, 100%, man. I can't wait for Brandon Ayuk though next season. Call me crazy. I am says, call me crazy. I'm gonna call you crazy because I just read your comment. He says, call me crazy, but I would trade Debo if I had to pay Ayuk. You could pay them both. You can pay Ayuk. We ain't trading Debo. That's crazy to me. Why is everyone want to trade Debo? I know he didn't have the season that he had last year, but I tell you what, man, just wait. Next season, he's gonna have a big year. People forget about Debo. He does a lot of stuff. He just, has some injuries this year. So, you crazy. You are crazy. I'm gonna call you crazy. I am. I love your support, but you crazy. Alex says, BA watching this live, like, you're right, Raj. I should go to the Bills. Can you imagine? Hey, yo, if Brandon Ayuk leaves and he goes to the Bills, I want all of you guys to flame me and blame me. It would be my fault. Yo, Brandon Ayuk, you'd be phenomenal on the Bills. It's my fault if he goes, but don't go to the Bills. Oh my God, man. So Pocket says, you crazy, because if Debo was gone, Ayuk would get doubled. And that is a big, see, that's so key. And I know Debo didn't have like the big year, but you're right. You take away Debo, that defense don't give a shit about Juwan Jennings. We like Juwan Jennings because he's a good third down. He's a good possession receiver, whatever. But he ain't your number two. He's not going to go out there and cut a rug on the routes. No disrespect to Juwan. He's a tough guy. He's a good possession receiver. But he's not going to he's not going to take away coverage out of Brandon Ayuk. Debo Samuel commands respect. And he would, if you leave Debo out off this team, he's not on there, Brandon Ayuk may not have got 1,000 yards of the season. So we'll see. You need Debo, man. He's a beat, and he's a vibe. He's like a leader out there. Do I like how we use Debo? Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have kind of figured out the way Kyle used. I think he has to kind of reinvent it, because I think people expect him to do the things he does. He runs out there. He's going to get some slants. He's going to run some screenplays. And I think part of it, too, I don't think Debo was 100% this year. He wasn't what he was last year. He didn't really get to train this year the way he wanted to. He was in a contract year. He didn't get to do the training stuff with the team, right? He didn't really get to do all that stuff. So he was kind of behind when he came into training. I remember at training camp, that boy's sitting there with like spandex pants and a overshirt, and he's just sitting there chilling, waiting to get signed. He wasn't, training. He didn't look like he was like ready. I know he was doing his own training, but it's not the same as when you're out there with the team and bonding and vibing. Like Trey and Ayuk, they were training every day. Like they trained every day, right? So this season, I think Debo's training is going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy this year. It's going to be crazy this year. That's the thing. Debo really didn't train as much as he normally does last year. So we'll see. But we'll see. It's going to be fun. But the first thing we need to find out is who's going to be our defensive coordinator. Hopefully we find out tomorrow, because I don't want to go into the weekend not knowing. But hey, if we do, we'll find out next week. It is what it is. Off-season, day 4. Today was a little quiet. I was like, what's going on? Why is it so quiet? It's been so noisy all week with the off-season. Some days it's the calm before the storm. But hey, we'll see what happens. Tomorrow's Friday. Enjoy it. It's going to be weird this weekend without Niner football. I'm going to be a little sad. I'm not going to lie to you. It's the first weekend without the Niners in a long time. Tear. I'm sad, but guess we got to get used to it, man. I'm going to go get something to eat. We'll be live on Instagram soon. I love you guys. Have a good night. I appreciate the support. As always, take care. Let's go Niners. Let's sign a defensive coordinator. Kyle, sign us a defensive coordinator. I love you. Have a good one.